So terrorism, like I said earlier in the first module, is the use of violence, types of violence, all kinds of violence, and different categories of violence that are used in terrorist activities. We have shootings, bombings, suicide bombings, assassinations, kidnapping, sabotage. All of these forms of violence are used in acts of terror, for different purposes to achieve different agenda. The fact that these forms of violence result into the destruction of property, okay, of lives, high levels uh, um, of killings occur, deaths, occur as a result of the use of these methodologies or these types of violence. Uh, uh, point to the fact that terrorists are not particularly concerned about safety. Rather, they are most so the violent use of weapons and all forms of explosives to bring about high mortality rate actually creates a shock effect that instills fear and intimidation. And usually terrorists are very concerned about building up residue of fear and intimidation that will eventually help them to be able to get what they want, because every form of terrorist attack or terrorist activity is geared towards attaining a particular goal. There's an intention, there's a desire, there's a goal that they want to achieve through these terrorist acts. So now, moving further, we need to also understand that the use of violence, that is physical violence, is also matched with a violent ideology, which is a key characteristic of terrorism. Um, what or for what reason would a human being choose to kill another human being or kill hundreds or thousands of human beings? What reason would motivate somebody to do that? So we need to also look at what creates that motivation or creates that drive, that creates that reason, create the compelling factor behind every form of terrorist attack, or what we refer to as the causality behind terrorist actions or terrorist attacks. Now, this is usually embedded in the ideology, which of course is a violent ideology. Is one of the fundamental characteristics of terrorism. The ideology must be violent, because without a violent ideology, you cannot have the radicalization of a person into a terrorist. Now we have somebody who is, normal person. That is, if uh, normality can be used, to describe most human beings, because most human beings are not normal. Regardless, let's assume that we're looking at somebody who's normal, and that person at some point shifts his position, his thinking, his mindset, and engagement, okay, with people and society to a very extreme position. That means that person has shifted either from being, a moderate liberal to an extreme. This is what we refer to as radicalization. When the person shifts his ideological position to a place, a position in mind that compels the person or gives the person agency to kill or to cause destruction by means terrorist methodology. So, for instance, we have somebody in a religious group that basically is a normal liberal group, and at some point we hear that this group has been radicalized. What that means is that uh, a violent ideology, an ideology that permits violence, that uses or enjoins the members of that group to use violence, was infused into that group, and that ideology is now responsible for radicalizing the members of that group into carrying out terrorist activities like they have done. So, in an attempt to understand terrorism, we understand terrorism to be violence, the use of violence, the attempt or the threat to use violence, okay, to achieve whatever goal or aims that the group has, or persons or individuals or governments have in mind. But we also have to understand that that violence that is used is instigated by a particular mindset, the paradigm of mind that the users, the terrorists, the users of that violence have. That particular mindset or that paradigm is instituted inside of that group or in the minds of those people by means of an ideology. So, in an attempt to understand terrorism, we need to also understand violent ideologies, which are the underpinning factors, the primary, foundational structures that uphold, sustain terrorism, as a concept. Thank you very much. We're going to go into the theoretical aspects of this ideologies in our next module.